I love
Morning.
that.
Good morning,
Yeah.
Radiant Souls. I'm your host, Angela Ahimsa, and you've tuned in to Feed Your Chakras, which is broadcasting live from Toronto and streaming globally on Just TV, Roku, Meta, and NCG Television Network. And today's guest is Selena Ella Moon, who is an intuitive business coach, an author, a founder of the Soulpreneur Institute, and she has guided thousands of spiritual entrepreneurs and seekers to awaken their purpose and to align their businesses with soul. And through her transformative framework, like the 33 New Earth Wealth Codes, Elemental Wellness Meditations, and her upcoming Oracle deck, Angels and Elephants, she bridges energy, intuition, and entrepreneurship in ways that are both grounded and visionary. And in today's conversation, we're going to be exploring what it means to align with purpose and prosperity and how the chakras act as maps for abundance and why the crown chakra, our gateway to divine wisdom, is also the key to channeling creativity, clarity, and soul-led success. And I actually personally know Selena Moon. I met her when she had her temple vortex many years ago when I first moved back to the country. And we've both been on our own journey, and this is our first time reuniting since then. So it's an honor to have you today, Selena.
Oh, thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's just dive in. So many people feel that they have a higher purpose, and a lot of people don't really know necessarily what that is or how to live it fully. So how do you think that we can bridge the gap between a soul calling and a creative life and business that actually supports this?
Yeah, well, I really believe that. I actually was doing a meditation the other day, and I was like, why are there so many people on the planet, right? This all comes back to your question, but I was like, there's so many of us. And one of the actual messages I got is because each of us has a purpose here, and we're actually meant to help humanity to evolve. However, not everybody is actually in that purpose. Not everybody is embodying who they came here to be. Their soul has agreements. However, they're not always up to par with their human existence and their soul existence, living simultaneously in a way where they can embody and embrace their divine inspiration to get them on par with their purpose. And so as a result, all of these new souls have to keep getting born until the actual overall shift in humanity has taken place. And so when all of us actually step into our purpose, I do believe that our missions will be so activated and our cohesiveness will be so strong that there won't be as many people on the planet, but every person on the planet will be on purpose. And I really believe that when we are living our life from an internal guidance system rather than an external guidance system, that actually ignites our sense of awareness. And our sense of internal success has to come before our sense of external success. And by external success, I mean your reputation, how much money you earn, what the world thinks of you. If those things are more important to you than how you feel in your body, how you feel about your passion, and how you feel about your life and how you feel about your day-to-day behaviors and how you feel in your relationships and your thoughts and just how you're executing your life. Like if that doesn't feel good to you, then that's where we need to start, I think. And that's really the key to stepping into this type of lifestyle where we're all really connecting with our soul, connecting to our inspired path, connecting to the path of possibility, but also grounding that, like you said, into our physical reality by creating businesses. Like that's a whole, for me, it was a top-down process. You know, it was a process where I started with the crown and then I let it trickle down. And of course, the crown, I believe in the heart. I think all the chakras are connected, but the crown and the heart have their own very special relationship. And I really believe that when our crown and our heart are talking to each other, then our body starts to move and our lives and our actions start to move in accordance with our highest divine will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually like the perfect explanation for that is the brain-heart coherence, right? Even though crown is like kind of supersedes the brain, it's like bringing it all together, and the heart is the portal that helps us transcend into our higher selves.
Exactly. And it's like, it's not just all love and it's not just all light. It's love and light for a reason, right? And that light comes from the crown, but that love comes from the heart. And when the two come together, you know, that's really where the genius and the magic happens.
Yeah, well said. Another thing too, just to touch on this, like everybody does have a purpose, and so many people think that it has to be this super big thing, and
No,
maybe it is,
no.
but it could also just be like, even people living on the streets have a purpose. They just
Sure.
feel so much shame and so like neglected, like they're trapped by the superficial society that we live in, and the lower vibrational feelings, they actually like engage themselves in that. But even for them, like, you know, it could even just be helping out an old lady. Like if you make people feel good, that is a purpose. Like that is a very purposeful life. And so, you know, even just starting like with that, rather than thinking that you have to make some huge impact, because
it's just be yourself.
Yes.
Really, that's really what it is. It's just be yourself, right? It's like, even the attachment to living a service-based life has its own level of superficiality in the false life matrix, right? So it's like, the way that I see it is like, just be yourself. Like if you're going to stand up for something, stand up for something. Stand for something that is meaningful to you. Stand for something that holds true passion and true love in your heart for you, whatever that is. And that can vary from cycle to cycle in your life. It doesn't always have to be the same thing. But what I love about being yourself is just undoing all the programming that says you can't. And then the more you're yourself, then the more you're automatically on purpose. But that's the problem, is that we've just been conditioned to wear so many masks, right? Exactly. And that's what we have to undo.
It's one of the highest vibrations too. You're so attractive when you're authentic.
Oh, totally, totally. And it's like,
not necessarily the most liked, but you're definitely attractive because you stand out.
Well said. Not necessarily the most liked. Yeah. Felt that one. Yeah, no, for sure. It's true. It's like, you know, there's so much we learn about ourselves through our lives. And I think those who are on the spiritual path and doing the inner work are like undoing all kinds of programming within themselves all the time. And then it's like you come out of one cycle and you enter a new cycle, and then you're just like this completely different person. And everyone's like, who are you? And you're like, oh, I'm this now. And people are like, I resonate or I don't, right? And it's just this consistent turnover that keeps happening. But it can't be about what's external. It has to be about what's internal. And when we come from that internal space, I think that's where we can feel the most joy. I think that's where we tap into the most divine connection. I think that's when we have the greatest success. I think that's where things come easily for us.
Success.
Yeah. It's not false success. Yeah.
Exactly. Like everyone judges based on this superficial code that we've been given. But let's be real. Nobody's actually really, like, even if they're thriving in that, nobody's really like, unless they're living authentically, nobody's truly happy because they're all living up to these expectations of others or their success, right?
Totally. There's two types of people. There's the people that are like super broke and like just focused on being happy and living a very simple life, but some part of them feels uncomfortable because they're not creating wealth. And then there's the other side that's like creating tons of wealth, but like inside they're probably, you know, broken because they haven't done the inner work. So it's like, I really believe in like bridging the gap between both worlds, and it takes time, especially the soulpreneurs out there who are doing creatively inspiring things like you are. Like, that's really, you know, there's like a gap between the internal success and the external success. And what I do is I kind of help people through that stage as well, where I help them walk through that bridge. And I'm like, hey, you know, like there's a process here, because what you're doing is coming from such a deep place. We need to really, really purify and cleanse in the inner space so that you can start manifesting in the outer space. And that's really a self-trust process. And if there's a lot of self-doubt and there's a lot of questioning of, you know, worth, that can get in the way of one's ability to trust that process and that path. So yeah, it's definitely a journey.
Yeah. And she's lived it. I also forgot to mention when I was introducing her, she's also the creator of the wealth codes. I just finished 33 wealth code activation, and in it she even shares some of her journey and stuff, but
totally.
So on that, because you're touching on the two different polarities between people, and I also have experienced and know that a lot of people who consider themselves soulpreneur or spiritual, they do have that disconnect, and mainly because there's so much in their higher chakras that they're not balanced with the groundedness of being in this world, maybe because they don't want to, because it is so superficial and stuff. But it's really important so that you can actually sustain and hold the foundation, so you can, you know, operate in your optimal self and have this abundance, and it stays, right? So when you have those people that believe spirituality and money don't mix, from your perspective, why would abundance be a sacred part of the soul work, and how do you?
Yeah. So I actually don't have people that where they don't believe they mix, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to hire me. So for me, I really work with people that are just as spiritually driven as they are money driven. But in my experience living in Toronto, which we were talking about just before, there was a lot of that I saw, and I actually had to leave Toronto to deprogram that within myself. And that's when I started growing my business, when I left, actually, because it took me into the actual truth of my experience, which is we're all wealthy that is actually our birthright to be wealthy. It is our birthright to receive. It is our birthright to grow our wealth. And we have just been conditioned to be victims of a system that is not designed for our nature. And we have to return to our natural way of receptivity and our natural way of wealth, which is innate. And that is the godly way. That is, there is no suffering that God wants us to experience on this planet. Some people will argue, oh, well, we're on the wrong planet. You know, we came here and now we have to pay to live. And it's like, well, God will provide you for everything you need to live. Yeah, it's like, but also like, we don't have to pay. Even in those rules, we don't have to pay to live, because God gives us everything we need the more receptive we are to it. And part of being receptive to it is being able to follow your divine inspiration and take action on it, and knowing you're worthy of receiving what God wants to provide for you. And it doesn't always have to come through earned hard work. It doesn't always have to come through hustle. It doesn't have to come through clocking in and clocking out. It comes through alignment. And that's really what the wealth codes are about as well, which I know you took. So there's like a sense of, there's like an old spiritual teaching that says, and I had it in me too, trust me, I was from the untouchable India class of, you know, those ancestors of mine were screaming scarcity, which is actually what took me through my whole personal wealth journey. And I'm still on it, obviously, but and that's what led me to create these wealth codes, is that I came from extreme levels of scarcity in my own ancestry. And what I learned in my own explorations through the Akashic records was that there was hardcore belief systems that you are actually not of God when you receive wealth. Like, those belief systems were so strongly embedded, and I had to go to God and be like, is this divine? And God was like, no. You know, this is not divine. This is actually horseshit. So it's like, oh, so I can receive. I do deserve to receive, and I'm not, you know, I'm not less of God when I am wealthy and receiving in abundance. And it was like, no, actually, that's when you become more of God, because you have more energy. Money is just energy, right? So if you have more physical energy, you have more physical money. Yeah. Right. And God, we are in this physical reality. We cannot deny that. You know, everybody wants to talk about the 5D. Oh, we're moving into the 5D, not without the 3D coming with you. Like, we're still going to be in the 3D world. We're just emanating from a 5D consciousness. So, you know, I think people forget that it's not about going out of body. It's actually going into body. And that's what I love about your work that you're doing with Feed Your Chakras, because it's, you're bringing people into their bodies to help them find heaven on earth in the cells of their physical avatars, rather than telling people to leave the consciousness and go into other dimensions. You're actually bringing them into the physical dimension. And I think a lot of spiritual people struggle with that, but I feel like that is one of the keys to creating wealth, is to be in your body. So
yeah, totally. And to purify the body as well.
Yes.
We were just talking about this too. It's funny that you say that about Toronto, because that's definitely root chakra. Because it's like, we're products of our environments. And if you're in an environment that doesn't sustain or support your growth, or it's projecting, you know, these concepts at you that clash with what you're trying to create, you have to be aware of that. And you have to create boundaries, whether it's moving to another country or like changing your cycle. But totally, it's so important.
It really is.
Me too, like definitely. And what did you say? You said you did. What was that chart where you found out that Tulum was one of your thriving points?
Astrocartography.
Yes, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I kept getting downloads. Oh, sorry.
I said I definitely feel like this is kind of my home base because I had family here, but now I don't really have family here. So I definitely feel like I belong in Latin America. Like that's where my soul thrives. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a level of joy that I feel here that I just haven't felt anywhere else. And it really does, it brings something new into the body and it gives a different experience. And then when you have that different experience in your body, of course, your behaviors and your thought patterns change and like my health is, I'm seeing shifts in a positive way in that direction as well. So yeah, I think there's something about your environment for sure that creates harmony or disharmony within you.
Mm-hmm. So that's rude. Let's just jump into the crown and how it connects us to, the vision and our divine purpose, and guidance. And without grounding, we basically stay up there, right? How do you help people when they have these really big visions and what they want to do to help them ground that into the earth?
Well, a lot of people that have really big visions also have a lot of big distractions in their crown. When I talk to entrepreneurs that have a lot going on, I first look at their crown as like a satellite. And I see sometimes that there's many satellites and they're not all tapped into the one God, right? They're tapped into spirit guides, they're tapped into other vibrations, they're tapped into star systems. And I don't actually believe we should source all our information from varying ancestors and guides and things like that. I think we should go directly to source for information. And if source wants to use a guide, such as a star, actuarian or Pleiadian or an ancestor to assist us in actualizing our godly insight, then that comes secondary to the divine. And what I notice in a lot of work that I do with spiritual people or people who've been in a lot of these spiritual communities is they're not, first of all, their satellites are all over the place. So they have a million different ideas and none of them are actually connected to their soul path because they're either past lifetimes or they're lifetimes that haven't been fully resolved yet, or they're the ancestors' lifetimes that are trying to work through them, or there are other star systems that they've tapped into and pledged their allegiance to. And it's really not all coming from God. So what I do is I collapse the satellites and I connect the crown to God and God alone. And then from there, we say, if God wants to bring guides in, then God, the guides and the support is coming from a divine source. It's not coming from all these open satellites searching, trying to escape or trying to find solutions to things. It's literally just bringing it within because we are God. We literally are, all of us are a piece of God. So if all of us are already a piece of God, we don't need all these satellites open. We just need to return home to ourselves. So what I do is the energetic cleansing is I release a lot of the stories and just the chaos and the static that I see in the crown. And I help people to just really come back home to God. And then once we do that, we look at purpose. And once we look at that, we look at what's divine and what's aligned. And that usually doesn't feel so big and overwhelming anymore because the big and the overwhelming stuff takes us out of body. It literally it's almost like too much for the body to handle because the body's like, got its own stories of like, you can't do that. You don't deserve that. Nobody's going to listen to you. This isn't that. And so it's like, it literally takes you more away from it when you have that too big of a vision. But when you're grounded, your visions are kind of like happening in micro doses. and that's what I notice is like the people that are most grounded and the most successful, their visions are coming as micro doses. They're not coming as these grand, elaborate things because they understand that timelines are shifting. They understand that they're purifying. They understand that humanity is shifting. They understand they can't control things. They understand that they can't be attached to outcomes in order to succeed. And those grand visionary thinkers, sometimes they get so attached to their outcomes that it actually blocks the next possibility to enter. So what I like working with is like the crown going specifically to the divine and then receiving those little micro doses of like, hey, for the next 3 months, we're going to work on this for the next 3 months. And then that's just building and building and building and building. And you can obviously have your ultimate in mind, but that ultimate has to be flexible and it has to be fluid. And if we're too rigid about how we see our future, I think we actually block our highest and best potential future.
Totally.
So
That's so interesting. It's funny because, you know, from doing your wealth codes, I noticed that you do talk directly to God.
Yes.
And I know, I think in some religions, I think it's like Catholicism, like you're not supposed to, but I've always spoken to God. And I didn't actually know, you know, until I started learning more about like going into spirituality, because I always felt connected to something.
Yeah.
Especially from traveling alone. Like I was
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
Something like near-death experiences and crazy shit happen. I'm like, okay, there's somebody looking out for me. So I've always had a really like, you know, personal relationship. And when I do something I want to please God, you know, like I'll ask, right? And I think that's really beautiful and interesting that you say that, because I know also so many people that do tune into all their spirit guides and stuff. And I am very intuitive. I'm also very creative. Like I get these little like insights that guide me. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, where do I go? And so now it's funny that you say that, because like I have my book coming and stuff, but it's like, I taking it all in and like noting it, but it's like I have like my priorities. Like first it's got to do this fashion show, and then it's going to be this, and this is how I'm going to tie them together. So that's really cool. I actually just had a question too. It's I wanted to ask you before, when you said you had a family lineage of complete scarcity, was it the Untouchables?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that came to me as you were saying that. So wow, that's do you want to explain a little bit what that is in case people aren't?
Yeah. So even though like I am Indian blood, but my family's from Africa. My parents are from Africa. My grandparents are from Africa. However, my great grandparents were from India. And so I don't really know a lot about that whole lineage. So I had to go every time I'd ask my parents questions, like I just wouldn't get a lot of answers. So I was like, I'm just going to go into a meditation, and I'm just going to, because I have the power to go into my own past lives. Like, I feel like when you do more inner work, you start to unlock that 8th strand of DNA, and your Akashic record awareness just blows open. And I just start going through these past lives. And so I start looking through the past lives of me as my ancestors. And I'm just like literally like scrubbing floors and sweating. And I'm just like doing all like, you know, I'm literally being treated like the scum of the earth. Like I'm being kicked around and stuff physically, and I have nothing. I'm just wearing the same thing every day, like covered in mud. And yeah, I was like, what is this? Like, how like, what is this? And it was like, this is the untouchable class. And so there's a caste system in India, and it's like the lowest of the lowest caste system are the untouchables. Like these are the ones that are completely,
nobody wants to touch them.
Nobody, literally, yeah. They're considered like the scum of the earth. And that's like where my ancestors came from. So that's why this work is so important to me.
Mm-hmm. And it's also, that's something that gets embedded in our DNA, because a lot of our beliefs are programmed into us. So it's really like up to us in this day to do the work, because you're not only healing them, you're going to be healing the future generations so that doesn't carry on. So good for you.
Thank you. And you're also putting a different, like, even aside from like the future generations, say you don't have children, right? Like what you're doing is you're putting a new stamp on the earth with your frequency, right? So it's like wherever you go, your frequency gets stamped on the earth. So you're literally like putting your energy and dropping all kinds of codes based on your own consciousness and where you are and on any land that you touch. So those who pass through your footsteps, even years later, actually pick up your codes. So I think it's really cool because like, it doesn't have to come through birthing new generations even. It literally just comes from walking the planet that we are affecting, you know, the future generations, because we are simply just emanating consciousness and higher levels of consciousness that get imprinted wherever we go. And we do, we lose our hairs and our skin cells and our nails in different places wherever we go. And like that literally is dropping like your magic everywhere you go. I've learned this as a nomad. So yeah, it's pretty powerful when you do that inner work, because you're actually not just helping your own ancestors and your own lineage, you're actually helping the entire planet.
Yeah. What a crazy time to be alive. I feel so many people are waking up now, and it's just the frequency. And as you mentioned, like 5D isn't actually a place, it's a state of being. And the more that we raise the collective consciousness, the faster it's happening.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, it's really cool. Are you there? Oh, did we freeze here?
I was like, what? I heard you say, are you there? And then it like went off. I don't know what happened, but I'm tethering from my phone just in case.
Oh, okay. It's all good. So yeah, we were talking about what a crazy time it is to be alive and how people are awakening.
Are we on? Let me just see. Hold on. Are we live? I've never had that happen before.
Oh no. At first I thought it was on my end.
Don't go to sleep mode. Okay. Okay, we're live. All right, continuing where we left off, we were talking about what an interesting time it is to be alive, and then and then we got intercepted. So please refresh us.
Yeah, I think it was just the power of recognition that so many people are awakening at this time. And you were saying how incredible it is to witness so many people stepping into the 5D existence versus trying to run away or escape from this life, like really bringing more life into this avatar and into this worldly experience.
Yeah, that's so cool. So entrepreneurs who focus only on strategy or only on spirituality, how do you bridge them into converting their one like kind of focus and introducing the other into a tangible prosperity or business?
Yeah, well, and so I run the Soulpreneur Institute, and it's basically a school platform where we have hundreds of videos in there now about this exact same topic. And what we talk about is the people that are more, so let's just say spiritual, and they're getting all the downloads, but they're not actually connecting to the physical in terms of strategy. They usually have a lot of judgments about this physical reality that they need to overcome. And a lot of those judgments have to be like, are often like, I don't want to be boxed in. I don't feel like I'm part of this matrix world. I don't want to do things the way that everybody else does them. And that's fine, because I agree with that. However, I do believe that there is a routine or a structure that is intuitively led, and that we can actually access that by balancing our feminine and our masculine energy. And when we actually connect to the part of ourselves that is intuitive, we're also utilizing that intuition to create the structure. So what is the intuitive structure that I need to build in order to succeed in my business? That is the question we should be asking, because most of us are doing it the other way, where we're trying to build a business based off strategy that makes sense, but it's not always intuitively led or heart led. And so what I help people do is I help them go straight to their feminine first, because I really believe that that's where we should be starting, is in that feminine energy. Connect to your insights, connect to your intuitive nudges, connect to your dreams, connect to what your heart is telling you. Yes, receive. And then once you're in that space, now use your intuition and your downloads to channel your own structure. And everybody's structure is going to look different. And it's not based on algorithms. It's not really based on, you know, you got to post this many times a week, or you got to share this many YouTube videos in order to like become successful. Or, you know, even there's a lot of talk about like SEO and things like that. But even I notice when you're not in alignment, SEO doesn't work. It's like you still have to be in alignment with what you're doing for you to be able to succeed. And you have to have a deep reason and a deep meaning behind it. And your energy has to be congruent with what it is that you're doing. And I think a lot of times in the soulpreneur world, I think we're called to pivot a ton. And that's because as we evolve, our businesses need to evolve. And I think that we could be in one business for say 3 to 5 years, and all of a sudden we're being called to pivot that business. And then 5 years go by and then we're called to pivot into something else. And that can feel like we're always starting from scratch, but we're not, because whatever we learned in say cycle 1 actually feeds into cycle 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And that's really what I help people do, is I help them to extract the wisdom from their previous cycles and then impart that wisdom into their next pivots without prolonging or blocking that pivot from taking place, right? It's like there has to be a recognition of self in this soulpreneur process. And if the self is not feeling that feeling of fulfillment or happiness or joy doing what it's doing anymore, naturally as humans we get bored, right? Or we just need to keep evolving. We have to do something different, right? And a lot of people struggle with that because they're like, okay, but I'm making good money now, and I worked this hard to get all these clients, and now I have all these clients, but now I'm poor, right? But it's like, if you're not happy within yourself, then like your level of service is also not going to be at the level that these clients might be paying you, right? So I always tell people, like, how can you switch it up, right? What can you do to switch up your business? Even if you have clients and you're bored, how can you bring something new into your client conversations? You know, I always say start there. You know, like when I was doing in-person healings, I would sometimes bring in like essential oils to like stimulate me in different ways, or imagery or paintings or sounds or frequencies that would just really create like a whole everlasting unforgettable experience for me and the client. And since doing that, I still remember all my client experience. I remember almost every single session I ever did, because I always made it interesting, you know, and my clients felt that. And that's why most of my business over the last 13 years has been referral based, right? Is that I really have to advertise too much, because I have people that refer people because they're getting great results working with me. So, you know, that's part of doing what you love, is other people feeling that love. And if you don't love it, it's going to be harder to grow your business, because people aren't going to be referring you. They're not going to be giving you those glowing reviews. You're not going to get the kind of result that you're looking for in the outside world, because you're just not quite there in your inside world.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's kind of the polar opposite of what most people would think for their business, because most people would approach it from the masculine, where it's like the doing, rather than the whole like creation and flow. And so that I never actually heard anybody say that about the changing your business every 5 years sort of thing, but I kind of am doing that. And I'm doing Radical Freedom Project. It's like a research group with Bruce Lipton and some other scientists. And I was saying this yesterday. I was saying this yesterday. It's like, you know, I do so many things that sometimes I don't even know how to like label myself, right? They're like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I do this and this. And it almost sounds like I'm making it up because I do so many things, but it's like I've traveled so much and I've become a different person and basically everything, and followed my passions and stuff. But, you know, a lot of what I do, you know, like people know me as yogi, people know me as like this vegan or integrative nutrition chef. And I still do all that, but I'm not as focused on it now. But it's funny because now my book series is the red thread, where I'm tying it all into that self-exploration and then kind of working through your chakras and even understanding them, so that you can unblock a lot of these misconceived or perceptions and stuff that we have of who we are and tapping into our full potential. So it's really cool to actually hear that you say that, because I'm like, wow, I change everything so often, but yeah, maybe I'm doing it right.
You are. I actually think you're doing it wrong if you're on the soulpreneur path and you're only doing the same thing over and over for like decades. Like I haven't met anybody. Sorry?
It gets mundane. Like you're just doing, you're not being.
Exactly. And it's not really you anymore because you've changed on the inside. So everyone I've met on the path is always changing. And as you change, your desires change, your way of being changes, the way you even look and feel changes constantly. So your business, if it's really a soulpreneur business, when I say that, I mean like it's really connected to your personal identity. If it's just a business, that's different, right? It's like, oh, I'm just doing this in the 3D world, but I have this other like spiritual closet that I live in, and I do something different in those time frames that I allot to that. But when you're a soulpreneur, you're just like bursting in every dimension. So it's like you cannot contain yourself anymore. So you just have to keep letting that burst give you new passions and explorations. And I really think that's what it means to get paid to be alive, is to just be alive.
In regular society, most people kind of grow in this linear fashion. They like, take the steps, they get the promotions, they build the business, whatever. But when you're doing the soul work and you're expanding as a human being, or even a spiritual being, it's like you grow in every single way. Like you grow physically, you grow emotionally, you grow in all these different tangents. And, back to that point about where you live, so many people work the same job, they work with the same people. And like, for me, like I can even go away for 6 months and I come back a completely different person and everybody's still the same. And I feel that we're all just like, well, if you're not giving yourself that opportunity to grow, you're selling yourself short, because there's just so much out there that you're not even experiencing or knowledgeable, like you have no idea about that even exists.
Totally. And that's really hard. I think that's the hardest thing for people who are switching from being in the corporate world to starting their own business, as they take that corporate mindset and they try to apply it to their business, but then they're on the soulpreneur path and they're starting to get all the downloads and they're like, why do I keep seeing 333? Why do I keep seeing 1111? It's like, oh, okay, I see where you're at. And it's just like this, because there's something bigger than you playing out here, and it's time to surrender. And that surrender is really scary when all you know for your sense of security is that linear path. But the first wealth code is like, security does not lie in numbers. It lies in my knowing. That's literally wealth code 1, right? And it's that inner knowing that we must derive our sense of security from within us. And that is also for anyone who wants to transition from the corporate world to the soulpreneur path, is you have to start relying on your inner sense of security.
Okay, so if humanity had one blocked chakra, like I mean, have more than one blocked chakra, but as a whole, what do you think it would be, and how would we begin to heal it?
I actually think humanity, okay, so not talking about the Western world here, just looking at the entire humanity, I think it's the heart.
Okay.
And I believe that when we heal the heart, we heal everything. Because whenever I do work with people, if it's a root chakra issue, a sacral chakra issue, a crown chakra, it all comes back to the heart, because a lot of the way that we feel influences our thoughts and behaviors. So if our feelings are off, right, then guess what? Our thoughts and behaviors are also going to be out of alignment. And this is what creates a world that is, say, greedy or power hungry or manipulative or external validation seeking. It's just because we don't feel that love. But love is all there is. Love is the only thing there is. Everything else is an illusion. So if we can remember that love can exist and really thrive from our heart space, whether it's the lower heart or higher heart, which is a whole other conversation, but really just like the expression of love in its unconditional sense, that is where, if we can all find that balance of love within, I think the whole of humanity would radically change.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely think the heart is definitely going to help us heal, because it's blocked for so many reasons. But I also would think it would be the root, because it's trapped mentally, emotionally in scarcity, in survival mode. And that's what's keeping everybody small. But like the love, like you said, is actually what can help elevate us, because then you can help people feel grounded. You can make them feel supported and stuff. So.
Yeah, for sure. And when you feel love, you naturally feel connection. And when you feel connection, you naturally want to help people. And when you feel open to love, you also receive love, and you allow people to help you. So there's never really a lack.
Yeah.
There's never lack when there is love. Never. Yes. Not even in the physical world.
Yes. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're running out of time, but you did give us one of your wealth codes, so thank you for sharing that. I'm also going to put all her stuff in the description when I share this, if you want to tune into any of her stuff or check out her programs. But as you connect directly to God and you ask for guidance, you ask for abundance and all this stuff, can you just give the viewers an example of how they can do this, and what you might say, just to give them a little takeaway?
Yeah. So you'll see in the codes, I actually embody these codes more and more every day. I don't ask for things anymore. I am them. Yes. So it's a remembering that is taking place when I am connecting with the divine. I'm literally just saying, I am wealthy. Remind me how I am wealthy today. I am loved.
That was one. I did her things, and she said something. I forget what it was. It was something about like, show me how deserving I am, or something like that. I can't remember what it is she said, and I did that, and literally like so many things came at me that day. I was like, whoa.
Yep. Yeah. Those codes actually, thank you for doing the survey as well. We got some amazing testimonials from that as well. One girl manifested like 20K after the first week or something.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that's when my husband actually had his big, like he had a money block for 7 years, and the wealth codes helped get him out of it, which was really cool. Cause I've watched him change since the first day of the wealth codes, and he just took them so seriously. And I never seen him like how he is today.
I did cool. too. That's why I was a little behind, because I like literally made it a ritual. I'd like sit there, I'd read it, and I'd write the code down.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, we have adapted it since. I mean, we created a workbook, and we created the Wealth Temple, which is basically a WhatsApp chat now, a community where I'll be starting to share more wealth upgrades in there for people who join moving forward. So the first 3 are free now, but now it's the rest of the 30 you got to invest, because I noticed that even though the first 33 I offered for the first few people were free, people were actually not taking it as seriously because they didn't pay for it. So I got a download about that actually I needed to charge for this so people could get better results. So it was actually for everybody's benefit. Yeah. So now it's 111 for the full experience, but the first 3 are free, which anybody can get at any time through wealthcodeactivations.com.
Beautiful. Yes. And as I said, I'll be sharing all of that. So Selena, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for having me.
That prosperity isn't just material, it's our energy, it's our alignment and our purpose that flows through us. And to everyone tuning in, if this conversation expanded your perspective or inspired your prosperity, I invite you to connect with Selena at her channel, which is it Selena Moon or Selena Ella Moon?
I go by Selena Ella Moon now. So you could find me, it's Divine Leadership Codes on YouTube. You can get those wealth code activations from wealthcodeactivations.com, or just check out the Institute at Soulpreneur Institute.com.
Yeah, she's evolved since I first met her. Selena Moon.
Definitely.
I was Angela Argentina. Now I'm Angela Ahimsa. So I have also evolved.
That's it. You are very, very, you are very on fire. You were always on fire, but you're on fire in you're on fire in more of a majestic way now.
Yes, I'm more aligned now, I believe.
Yeah. So it's really cool to reconnect.
Thank you. And so if you're looking to continue nourishing your journey and have more conscious conversations, chakra insights, and soul aligned practices, you can also follow me. I am the Chakra Goddess, also known as Angela Ahimsa. And so if this episode resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And together we're awakening purpose, embodying prosperity, and feeding our chakras with wisdom for the new earth. So thank you. Until next time, stay open, stay radiant, and keep feeding your chakras. Peace, love, and infinite blessings.
Thank you.